football strength conditioning coach at Valparaiso University. And right now we're just talking about basically our football strength conditioning program. I'll give you a quick rundown. Before we get started, I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody that kind of made this possible. Coach Ramos, thanks. This is actually my first opportunity to speak. And I remember the first conference I went to was in North Royalton, Cleveland. My parents drove me up. And I just remember it'd be pretty cool to speak at one. So you reaching out really means a lot to me. I'd also like to give thanks to our head coach, Landon Fox, and our athletic director, Miss LaBarbara. They've done a tremendous job. And also a couple strength mentors, Orlando Smith, Mickey Marotti, Phil Matus, Brady Collins, Quinn Barham, Matt Rhodes, Connor Hughes, Brian Hess, Thomas Stallworth, and Jason Belkamp. They've taught me a lot, and they've definitely given me opportunities to progress in this field. A little bit about myself. My name is Alex Curtis, SCCC certified, CSCS certified. Got my bachelor's of science from the University of Cincinnati, a master's of arts from Morehead State University, where I completed my GA. And I'm currently enrolled in the MHA program here at Valparaiso University. Similar to an MBA, but it's the health administration route. I'm big on continued education. Both my grandparents were educators, and that's just always kind of been instilled in me. I got coaching experience at the University of Cincinnati, Ohio State University, Morehead State, Army, West Point, Western Kentucky. Now, most recently, I'm here at Valparaiso. So going through all those places was all football-specific schools that I was at. The biggest thing was the structure of how we broke things down, and I credit a lot of the success that we've had at those schools to the administration of how we progress throughout the season. So that's really what I want to talk about. So here at Valparaiso University, we lift year-round. We'll lift in spring ball. We'll lift in camp. We lift in season. We lift off, obviously, in the off-season. We lift between classes, and so we'll break it down. The emphasis that we're going to place on each season that we're in is going to change a little bit, and that's what we'll talk about. But we run 4 seasons here that run a year-round program. It's all based on 4-year development. We're trying to get the most out of our guys. We're trying to slow cook. We're never trying to accelerate. 4-year development, do the best we can to put these athletes in the best position for success. Postseason, off-season, preseason, in-season. So postseason is officially when the job starts for me. I'll be honest, that last whistle, that last conference game, we're going to work. So you need to take a step back and realize where we're at as a team, where do we need to improve. Our schedule and the FCS conference, we have about 2 weeks until we go into that Christmas break. So they'll be with the team. They'll be with me. They'll be with the staff. And so we're going to utilize that time. If there's injuries, they're going to spend a lot of time with our sports medicine staff, and they're going to have priority over certain guys. And if they're not, they're going to be in the weight room with me. So we run 3 programs when we're in season. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to our in season. But these programs are going to start to hone in a little bit to get everybody on an even playing field for when we go into our winter. So during this time, we're looking at long-term injuries, short-term injuries, rehab programs, and all this stuff that's going to basically get them all in the same program. Recovery is going to be of a high emphasis, so our workouts are going to be big on the warm-up, big on technique, and our post work, whether that be a stretch, a foam roll, a lot of mobility work to make sure everything's ready to roll by the time we get into our winter. And then basically all preparation going into our off-season program, which is our winter. We're going to teach them new supersets, how the exercises are going to flow, work-to-rest ratios. Everything's going to be put into place, so by the time they come back to winter, they've already had a little bit of a stimulus and experience. So by the time we get into the winter, we're ready to roll. So speaking of this time in the postseason, I just want to notify these guys. Nate Tweedy's our director of sports medicine. These guys do a tremendous job for us, and they spend a lot of time with them during this postseason, right after the season. We'll meet with these guys 3 to 4 times a week on our players. Where's he at injury-wise? What's his rehab program looking like? How many times does he need to be with you opposed to lifting? Like I said, our sports medicine staff has priority over these guys after the season. We need to make sure that they're ready to roll by the time we get into our winter, because after the time it gets to the winter, it's our last uninterrupted training block before we get into the spring. Yeah, he runs a tremendous staff. Underneath him, he's got 3 full-time athletic trainers. He's got 2 graduate assistants, and then their team physicians, Dr. Lavenda, Dr. Marakta, and Mrs. Eisenhower. They do a tremendous job. Nate Tweet, he runs an excellent program, and he's got the athletes' trust and definitely our trust as well. Just wanted to give those guys a quick shout-out. So after the postseason, all right, like I said, we'll lead up. They'll be with those guys. They get their treatment. Everything's on board. The programs are honed in. They'll go home for Christmas break, which is about 4 weeks. They get a take-home program. Now, in that take-home program, there's going to be all the new exercises, the supersets, the rep schemes that they'll be expected to hit when they return for us for the winter. That's going to be our off-season. So when we come back, we have 8 weeks with the team, and I think we're probably the only school in Division I football with a 2-week spring break. So the kids kind of like it a little bit. So there'll be 8 weeks with the team, 2 weeks on spring break, and that's how we structure it. So we'll go 4 weeks and 4 weeks. We run 2 phases, basically a January and a February until we get into March, all right? Like I already said, this is our last uninterrupted training block before spring ball. We're trying to make all adjustments, making sure that these guys are ready to play ball and compete here pretty soon. All right. During this time, it's our highest volume of training during the year. Coach Armour already stated it. We're going to put a high emphasis on our work capacity first. We want to create that foundation. Work capacity is volume on our squats, volume on our bench, volumes and yardages that we're running. We're just trying to create a simple baseline foundation so by the time we do get into spring ball, we can start focusing a little bit more on stuff as we also progress into our summer. In January, they'll be with me 5 days a week. All right, it's going to be 4 days lifting, upper lower split, and we'll have 1 day general conditioning. All right, all we're trying to do, like I said, is get a baseline of yardage. Our linemen are trying to get about 550 yards of working. That's not including our warm-up. We do run a pretty extensive warm-up, but 550 yards working. Our big skills looking about 650, and our skills looking anywhere between 800 to 900. So during these 4 days of running, all right, it'll be all in January. We're trying to work up to that baseline conditioning. And then in February, it's going to be a little bit more of a grind. They're only going to be with me 4 days a week. They're going to have a true off day. And it's still going to be 4 days upper lower split. But we're going to go into 2 days of team training. Now, one of these days is going to be speed, agility, plyos, and then we'll also do our special teams drills during this time. All right. Our work capacity set, our yardage is set. Now we're taking that next step up to the next level, which Coach Armour also talked about. And that's when we start transitioning to strength and speed strength. And that's exactly what we're doing. And then on the second team training day, and this will be on a Tuesday and a Thursday, on our second one is going to be our combative drills. Now, these are going to be one-on-one drills. They're going to be tire pulls. They're going to be tug of war. They're going to be team drills, and they're going to be more physical. And we'll also put some more conditioning on there. Increase that work capacity still during these days. Now, it's going to be a little bit of a grind, and we will start to one-rep test them during this time. Volume will naturally come down. We are heading into spring ball, and we're making all physical preparations. We go back to our sports medicine staff. Do they need to stay in the weight room, or do they need to fine-tune with you and to get on a rehab program as we go into spring ball? As we get into spring ball, we'll mimic our in-season just a little bit. Like I said, we run 3 groups. Everything will mimic our developmental group or our progressive groups. They'll be lifting 3 to 2 times per week. Reps will go down. Yardages will go down. Intensity will stay about the same. Biggest thing that we're doing is adjusting our volume. After spring ball, we give them a little bit of time off. They go home. They got their exams. We give them time off. It'll be open weight room, but they also get another take-home packet. And once again, just like in the winter, it'll mimic everything that they're expected to do once we come back. Now, this is about the 8 to 12 weeks leading into camp when they come back for summer. And it usually starts in June for us here at Valparaiso University. But other schools I've been at, we've started in May, early as May. So during this time, all right, understanding that this is our last uninterrupted training block before we actually get into the end season. All right. This is where everything's almost got to be fine-tuned. No injuries can happen during this time. We got to keep them healthy. They're here to play ball. Simple as that. As we roll around, it's going to be all ball here pretty quick. June to the beginning of August. So this whole time, we're going to be lifting 4 days a week, upper lower split, and we'll run 3 days a week during this time. We've already created that foundation. We've already created that work capacity, that yardage base. We're still going to touch on it a little bit early on in June, but as we progress to late July, getting into August, we're already going to be up to that speed, strength, speed, and power. Simple as that. That's the game of football, and that's how we're going to play. No need to have all that yardage and unnecessary volume. So the 3 days we'll run, we'll do a general conditioning just to accumulate yardage, keep yardage on their legs, a change of direction day, and then a linear speed day. The upper-lower split will go all the same. The volume will also cut back just a little bit as well. So in our winter, we might be squatting more 6s to 4s. Here we're gearing down a little bit more to 4s to singles. The volume's going to substantially decrease just to make sure that we're ready to play ball by the time August hits. And then once again, we're making all physical preparations heading into camp. Once again, we're going to meet with our athletic training staff, sports medicine staff. Where are our guys at? What adjustments do we need to make? And by the time we get into our end season, this is where the program's going to become the most split. As soon as we hit camp, it's going to mimic our spring ball quite a bit. 2 to 3 days lifting. It's going to be lower volume. The intensity is still going to be pretty moderate, all right, but it's going to be a full body split. And this is where we're going to determine our weight groups, all right? Like I said, when we were in the postseason, how all the programs come together, this is where the programs start to split. Now, during camp, I mean, you're competing for playing time. You're competing to show everybody where you're at. Whether you're a freshman or a fifth-year senior, everybody's got a fair shot. So we're not going to assume lifting groups during this time. We're just going to keep everybody 2 to 3 days and follow our protocol and let them compete. Everybody's got a fair shot. As we get to the conclusion of camp, this is where you got to have great communication with your football staff, your coordinators, your head coach, and sit down. Who's going to play? Who's expected? What are the 1s and 2s deep? Who's our special teams guys? And this is where you as a strength coach have to understand where to put your guys in the best position possible for them to succeed. So the 3 groups we run, and this is a program that I've adopted from my time at Western Kentucky University with Jason Veltkamp, is the 3 groups we'll run is our developmental, our progressive, and advanced. Our developmental group is basically our non-travel guys or our freshmen, simple as that. So these will all be determined based on technique, age, physical potential, travel, playing time, all that type of stuff. And so this is all communicated with our position coaches and coordinators. Developmental, freshmen or non-travel guys, 3 to 4 days a week. Progressive, these are kind of guys in between. They may be higher rep special team guys, maybe between 20 to 25 reps, but still might be the 3s and 4s in their position group playing on the field. And then our advanced group, I mean, these are our dudes, our 1s and 2s. I mean, these are high 60 to 80 rep play count guys that need time off. And these are 2 days a week. And one of those times scheduled with me might be with Nate Tweet in our athletic training room with our sports medicine staff. We're trying to keep these guys healthy. These guys we're relying on for success on the field, and we'll take care of them when we go towards that. How we prescribe our intensity in our volume, it's based off the brick chart and the Prilipins chart as well. I know Coach at UND, he talked about using the Prilipins chart as well, and this is something developed at Western Kentucky. But basically, we'll range into making sure. So just how I said, our schedule, we're going to rely on our schedule to determine success. We're also going to rely back on our protocol as well. Between 8 to 4 reps, we're looking at hypertrophy. 6 to 3, we're scheduling strength. And then 4 to 2, we're looking at power. So as we go through these phases, we know where we want to be. Are we doing work capacity, or we're looking at strength, speed strength, all the way through? And as we go on, we show a little bit more Prilipins chart and how we could overlap a little bit more for our advanced groups and progressive groups if need be. Like I said, I think you have to have a backbone and structure for where you're going in your program. It's going to help for everything when it comes to programming and just scheduling for your program. As we go on, the yardages and stuff, so we do wear GPS units. We wear them when we run. We wear them during a game. And this is where we get all of our data, especially when it comes to building our work capacity. Where do we need to be? We don't want to do anything unnecessary. We're not trying to waste time. We're trying to invest our time the absolute best that we can. So looking at our yardages, where do our skill guys need to be? Where does our DBs need to be? Our safeties, our linemen, our D tackles, where do they need to be in terms of conditioning, yardage, all that? So we break it all down. We also run reports on our offense, defense, looking at all this stuff. I don't want to bore you with this, but this is where we get our numbers from. We use sports performance tracking, their GPS units that wear it best. Break it down into offense, defense, skill, big skill, linemen. We break it down per practice. We break it down per game week, and we see exactly where we're at. The guys wearing them will float interchangeably of who's kind of expected to start, and it might be more so just the same guy year round. He's giving us the best data and the best that we can go back into it. Now breaking down the workout card, so how we go. Like I said, we got 3 groups. Every person on our team will have a card. They come in, it's a book, it's in a folder. They walk in, they grab it out, and it's theirs, all right? Every week's going to be a new workout for them. It's going to have their name on it. It's going to have their maxes to it, their percentages. It's going to be specific to them and their position group and the group that they're in, whether it be developmental, progressive, or advanced. On the left side, if you guys can see here, if you guys can see my mouse, we're going to go through our warm-up. I'll just run you through how we structure our workouts and how we prescribe them. For a warm-up, we run a 2-tier warm-up, all right? First 6 exercises are all going to be movement-based and all body weight-based. Now, if it's an upper body day or lower body day, it'll all be geared towards that. But if it's upper body, the biggest things that we're trying to warm up are our scaps, our rotator cuff, posterior chain, T-spine rotation, and any type of ground-based core that's rotational-based. Now, that's not necessarily a Russian twist for a warm-up, but it's football. We play on our feet. We're going to train on our feet. That might be a pal-off press and a rotate. Anything where our feet are on the ground to warm that body up. It'll be a 2-tier warm-up, 2 sets of everything, and then we go in. The first block will always be a triple extension exercise, an explosive exercise, or some type of Olympic variation. With this, we're going to warm up the CNS. I'm big on that. So Coach Armour said it great. All right, we're warming up to train. We're not training to warm up. So we're still technically kind of warming up in this area. Our joints are loosened up. We've already broken a sweat. Like I said, our warm-up is pretty extensive, and then we get into it. Now we're becoming twitchy. We're lighting everything up. Triple extension, we're blowing it up, and then we go into our core movement next, all right? These are the exercises that we test on. The ones that we 1-rep test are bench, squat, and clean. Those are all 1-rep tests for us in our program, and everything else will be a rep test, and that'll be a deadlift, overhead press, incline press, and a weighted chin-up. Those are all rep tests, and we use a formula for that. My email's at the very end. If you guys are curious about the formula we use, we could tell you that. But all these are kept up here. Like I said, numbers are specific to them. Anything we'll test will come next. They'll be the freshest for them, and then we hit them. The emphasis of the day may change. Like I said, if it's a work capacity day in the wintertime, the reps here are going to be a little bit higher. And as we gear into the winter, gear into the spring, and then gear up to our summer, everything's going to naturally decrease and taper off as we get into the summer. Then these last two are going to be a superset block, and these are basically meant to balance out our anterior and posterior chains. We want to be healthy, keep them on the field, make sure everything's moving correctly, and that's all it is to balance out volume. If it's a lower body day, it'll be the same exact progress, all right? The warm-up might change a little bit, and what we're looking at the warm-up is, once again, our movement, all body weight stuff, and then we'll get into our resistive exercise, looking at hip mobility, our glute, our ankle, our core. And our core, once again, will be ground stabilized, ground-based, all right, but it'll be more stabilization. If you think of a squat, how important is the core? Big breath in, hold your breath, tighten on the way up, tight on the way up. We're trying to stabilize everything going through. Once again, we'll get into it. It might be more extensive. On this day, we got a hang clean. It'll be, once again, an Olympic variation, a triple extension, an explosive base movement. And then once again, we're going into, an exercise that we test, whether it be a 1 rep or a rep max test. Everything going through up for so forth. Everything's going to be right there. And then that's all I got. If there's any questions, I'm all here for them.
Awesome, Coach. Appreciate it. Again, if you have questions, feel free to start typing them in. All right, not seeing any questions. Oh, here we go. Coach, what is the biggest findings you have come across when tracking distance for athletes?
That there's a lot of wasted yards, whether that be transitioning from one end of the field to the next instead of keeping it around. Body weight's big. We're very developmental league. And so wasted yardage, wasted body weights, wasted movements, all that stuff. Biggest thing is transition. And then number two, I think, is you really become aware of how fast the guys move and how fast they don't move when it comes, I guess, underlying in that wasted yardage. You're trying to keep everything fast. You're trying to keep everything explosive. And you're trying to be quick to the point. We're trying to invest our time the best we can and set our athletes up for success best we can and keep them healthy. We're not trying to overwork them. So looking at those numbers, that's exactly what we're looking at. It's just wasted yardage and in the hidden yardage as well.
See if we got any more questions here. If any more come in. Like I said, I'll have a question for you here because the whole COVID-19, I know your level is a little different. You can start working with the guys now. Do you have any freshmen coming in that are currently not with you guys? And if so, are you going to adjust anything when they come in?
Yeah, our groups are actually going to be a lot more condensed. So it'll make the workouts a little bit more specific. It'll be easier to manage. Instead of 30 a group, we're allowed to have 15 to a group based on the square footage of our weight room. The freshmen coming in will have to, obviously, I believe they are getting tested, or they'll have to quarantine for a certain amount of days. So this is going to kind of create a wave. We're going to have returners who are already here, opposed to the freshmen, incoming freshmen and transfers who are going to have to kind of sit out. So it's going to add kind of a different dynamic going into camp. We're actually pushing, I think, our camp back to August 17th now, based on our conference rules. We're meeting with our conference, I believe, Monday.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions come in. Definitely appreciate it, Coach. Thank you very much. And again, if you guys ever have questions, reach out to Coach. And thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, guys.